And I went in for my annual contract renegotiation, my fourth year with that group, and had just been given a raise a few months ahead as a good faith gesture in anticipation of renegotiating this contract. So in my head, I'm thinking, they're trying to keep me. And she said to me, the practice manager, that the plan was to renegotiate contracts. Well, when I went to my meeting, she turns around behind her desk and pulls out a piece of paper, which I think is a contract, but in actuality, it is a separation letter that they were eliminating pediatrics from their group.
Welcome to the Licensed to Live show, where professionals, doctors, champions, VIPs, attorneys, and those in public office discover strategies that help you restart and gain what is lost when you find yourself accused. If another has doubted your integrity, questioned your credentials, or caused your actions to come under scrutiny, you are in the right place. On the other hand, if you have never felt the knot in the pit of your stomach when legal papers are served, the heartbreak of disappointing your family when the lock clicks shut on handcuffs, or had to appear before a board of review, then be aware, the longer you serve, the more likely you are to find yourself under the microscope of those who judge. Prepare yourself for this uncomfortable possibility. Now, here's your host, Dr. Jarrett Patton.
Welcome to this episode of Licensed to Live. My name is Dr. Jarrett, and I am your host for our journey together today and every day you choose to listen to this show. If you or anyone you know has been dissed by the healthcare system, please invite them to join us along this journey. Just go to Apple Podcasts, Google Play Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever you get podcasts, and subscribe to the Licensed to Live show. And while you're there, please rate this episode and give me honest feedback so I make sure I provide you with the most up-to-date information about career and life changes. Before we get started, I would like to let you know about a special opportunity. We have a few additional spots in the Licensed to Live one-on-one coaching program. This 3-month program is designed to help you refresh and restart your career so that you have a better life. This transformational plan will help you have the credibility, confidence, and courage to make that leap into the career you desire. There's only a couple spots remaining for this special, so make sure you make an appointment with me for your free strategy session at timewithdrjarrett.com. That's time with, spell out the word doctor, JA2RSE1T.com. Welcome to the License to Live show, Dr. Simpson. We're so glad to have you here because you have a great story about your entrance into medicine and your transition out. I thank you for taking the time and spending a little and sharing a lot with us today. Welcome.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here. I'm excited to share with you.
Well, I had to bring you on the show because I know that you are an alum of Case Western Reserve University School of Medicine. And that's where I graduated. In fact, you graduated just a year ahead of me. I want you to tell all of our listeners what drove your interest into medicine and brought you to become the pediatrician you are today.
Well, I think from childhood, I always wanted to be in a helping profession. And I can remember thinking I either wanted to be a doctor or a firefighter. And at the time, as a little girl, it seemed like firefighter was not something that little girls did. But I could be a doctor. And I always loved kids. So I decided very early that I wanted to be a pediatrician so I could help kids. And then as I got older, I really solidified into pediatrics because I really feel that giving kids a really good foundation with health and health literacy really sets them up to be healthier adults. And I enjoy hanging out with the little ones.
Credentials verified.
I can't blame you there because that's one of the things that I love the most about just seeing what kids do and what they say, because you just never know. It keeps your day pretty lively.
That is very true.
By the time you became a pediatrician, you went on to do like many of us and have a career taking care of patients here, there, and everywhere else. But I have to know, has there ever been a time you've been dissed in your career?
Yes, I think I have a series of discs in my careers. Maybe not as dramatic as it sounds, but definitely. So I started my career in clinical practice in pediatrics in outpatient medicine. So I took care of patients in the office. And when I started initially, I actually worked full-time, but with an office that was just starting up. So it was really a nice easing into practice because I had a baby right at the end of residency, took 3 months off to be home with her, and then started practice. And I worked in my practice for a little bit. My first diss was I was dismissed. So I worked for a multi-specialty group with pediatricians and internists and ortho, lots of different specialties. And I went in for my annual contract renegotiation, my 4th year with that group, and had just been given a raise a few months ahead as a good faith gesture in anticipation of renegotiating this contract. So in my head, I'm thinking, they're trying to keep me. And she said to me, the practice manager, that the plan was to renegotiate contracts. Well, when I went to my meeting, she turns around behind her desk and pulls out a piece of paper, which I think is the contract, but in actuality, it is a separation letter that they were eliminating pediatrics from their group. So what went from a simple meeting that I was going to renegotiate and discuss my new salary, which was going to be a bump, as she told me, immediately flipped to, I need to find a new job.
Another test.
So I left that meeting a little surprised. I did find a new position. That new position actually was a part-time position, though. They didn't have a full-time position at the location I wanted to work. So I went to work for Metro Health, which is a county hospital in Cleveland for mostly inner city and underserved populations. We served everybody at Metro, but that was really the focus. Regardless of the ability to pay, Metro would care for you. So I took that job because I actually had the opportunity to work in Hispanic clinic. So I'm not a native Spanish speaker, but I learned Spanish in high school and used some in college as well. That first practice was in a location that was mostly Spanish speakers. The whole office was Spanish speakers. So my Spanish skills came back and actually were much improved in that job. So I was really excited to take this job at Metro to be able to work in Hispanic clinic. It was, however, only a part-time position, which was fun because I had a couple days of the week that I could pick up my daughter from school and be at home with her. And I was at that position for a little while, maybe a year or two, before I decided I wanted a little more income. So I picked up a part-time position with a local medical insurance company and kind of learned the ropes of insurance with this company, which was really great because, again, it was part-time. So I had flexibility in my schedule. I didn't always have to be there if I had other things to do. But I was also learning the other side of medicine with utilization management and imaging reviews, medical determinations, as well as appeals. So that was really actually a nice balance for me because I was able to care for patients in the office. And just when I was getting to the point where I was like, I need a day off, I go into the insurance office. There were a few of the doctors there kind of in the pen together, and there was as much socializing as there was working, but I did learn quite a bit about the insurance industry, and that actually really set me up nicely. I actually was there probably about 8 years. Wow. In that span, I left Metro. I actually got recruited to another hospital, Akron Children's Hospital, which is where I did my pediatric residency. There was a gentleman there who actually was a resident a couple of years behind me, and he had a little panel of Spanish-speaking patients. He was a native Spanish speaker. and he was moving with his family. So I took his spot, and that job was great. It was fantastic. It was a bit of a drive. Okay, it was a lot of a drive. But again, I started there part-time because I wanted to keep my insurance gig, because that was really the flexibility. And it was kind of the pressure relief valve for me in terms of my practice of medicine. So while I was there, there was the other disc that kind of came in. I was starting to get
Before we get to that disc, I have to still digest dismissed. because what I hear, you were doing a great job, had a salary, we're about to get a raise, and then they just said, "Oh, sorry, not today, not this year. We have to let you go." Yes. And I've heard this happen to so many people, and it's a personal feeling. It feels like it was a personal failure. You feel very down and out because of that, because as physicians, we're all very high achievers. We accomplish a lot. So we don't really go off from medical school into residency ever thinking we would get fired from a job or just let go or laid off or whatever the case may be, because we're typically in high demand. So I would like you to tell us just a little bit about your thought and how you felt and how you overcame that first disc when you were dismissed, because obviously it propelled you to look into other industries, which I think is a great success. But tell us a little more.
So I was absolutely floored. I went to that meeting. I scheduled the meeting right before patients because truly it was just going to be renegotiation and sign the contract. Maybe I would take it with me to look over it and call back. So I was shocked, floored, and the meeting was very quick. It was not the decision of the person who had to dismiss me. So I could tell she was very upset by it because I had come to the company and I was her first hire. And so she came and brought me my initial contract to my house because I had just delivered. So there are pictures with her, the baby. So really, I did not anticipate anything. And I thought that I would have had some inkling from her. So when it happened, I think even now I'm sort of a little speechless because I'm like, I did not anticipate it. And I remember thinking, okay, you can't cry here, because I had just gotten divorced exactly 1 month prior to that. So I was like, I kind of need a job. And of course, emotions are still high when you have a big life change anyway. So I remembered leaving the meeting and she asked me if I wanted to cancel my patients. Like if I wanted her to call ahead to the office and have them cancel my patients. And I didn't cancel the day because, people were expecting me. People had planned their day around their appointments, but I remembered going to the office and just being like in a fog. And the secretaries were like, "How was your meeting, Dr. Simpson?" That was a quick meeting. And I was like, yeah, it doesn't take long to get fired. Like the other doc in my office. Because, I'm a bit of a jokester. You probably remember this. So, I like to rid people a little bit. So, I'm like, it doesn't take long to get fired. And he's like, no, seriously, how was your meeting? Because his meeting was coming up. So he's he's trying to gauge what his contract is going to look like. There's that feeling of personal failure. You expect if you're going to be fired or dismissed or let go or whatever, that somehow you play a role in it, or that maybe there's some blame that you take. Because then I think I could understand if you're late every day, if you don't sign your chart, if there's something about my personal behavior or performance, I could understand being let go. But there was nothing. It was truly just that they didn't want pediatrics anymore because, it was not the revenue generator that some of the other specialties were. So I remembered going to work and thinking, I have to find a new job, and almost feeling like paralyzed. Like, how do I do this? Because when you're in residency, people are looking at the residency programs to kind of pluck people out of the programs. And, there's this whole machinery there to support you and help you while you're looking for a job when you're a resident. But once you're out in the world, and I trained in Akron, which for people who don't know is about 35 miles from Cleveland. So it wasn't like I could just reach out to people in the immediate community of the residency program and start looking there. I really had to get my feelers out in Cleveland. Yeah. So I was kind of overwhelmed. And honestly, this was like in December. And so I said, you know what? I'm just going to take a couple weeks and not look for a job, because I was so overwhelmed that I felt like I couldn't effectively do it. The same friend who was in the office with me was going to a conference in Arizona in like a week or two and said, why don't you come down there with me? I have a room. I have a rental car. I'll be away at conference. You can lounge around during the day. Just take the time off, like regroup. And that way, when you come back, you can start your job search. So that's what I did. And it was probably one of the better decisions in that time frame when I was in the thick of everything, to just put everything aside, not look at all, and just kind of say, okay, refocus, rebalance, get yourself centered, and then start moving forward.
That is great advice, Dr. Simpson. Fire starters, I want you to hear what happened. She said that, you know what, this is just too much going on in my life. Let me get away. A friend asked me to go out of town, unwind, try to de-stress, and number one, take care of yourself, because all too often in these stressful situations, we start losing track of our own health. Maybe we don't exercise. Maybe we start smoking or start drinking too much, or maybe turn to other drugs or misuse the medications that we're supposed to have. But there's so many different things that can happen in these high times of stress. It's important, particularly during these times, to take care of yourself. So just getting away for a couple of weeks, you heard her say that was the best decision she could have made at that time. And she made that decision in order to take care of yourself. So I had to bring that point out, Dr. Simpson, because that's a great point for people to know. Typically during job loss times, you go into high stress and anxiety mode, and then you're not going to be effective. You're not going to have an effective job search. You're not going to find something you like. You're going to be panicked, and you're going to appear stressed to the people you're interviewing in front of. So it's all these things that work against you. So if you can, take some time, get your thoughts together, and then come back ready to take the challenge. So thanks for sharing that, Dr. Simpson.
Certainly.
You were leading on that you were dissed again in your career. Tell us about that.
Oh, no, not another test.
So these were probably not as dramatic as that one. And actually, I had forgotten about that one until we were sitting here talking. So the next sort of series of discs were more personal. By this time, I was working in my practice in Akron, great group of people, great patient based. But I was starting to get disenchanted and kind of disillusioned. By this time, my daughter is in middle school. She's got her activities, and I am driving, great distances to go to work, trying to coordinate, navigate getting her to her activities and picking her up on time from aftercare. So, we're gone from home from 7 a.m. until 6 p.m, get home, eat, do homework, go to bed, and very little time for her and very little family time. So I was really kind of disillusioned, and my personal satisfaction with my job was starting to go down. But really, I just pushed through because that's what we do. And somebody's got to pay the bills. So I kept going. Through that time, was really good about taking care of myself. Like you mentioned, I was exercising. I was really, making sure that I was getting some balance there. And gradually, I was noticing that I was having some trouble with my knee. So my next disc was I was actually disabled for a period of time in 2013. It started out with some arthritis in my knee and the plan for a small surgery And I was going to do it over spring break. I had already taken the time off over spring break. So to minimize the time away from the office, and I would be home, I wouldn't have to drive. I scheduled this surgery for spring break. And I wake up from anesthesia thinking, why does this hurt so much? This should not hurt this much.
Oh, no.
The surgery was supposed to be a scope and a cleanup, and it turned into a microfracture surgery, which is a pretty big surgery that you're non-weight bearing, meaning that you cannot put any weight on that leg for 6 weeks. And so if you remember not using a muscle for a period of time, you lose it. So non-weight bearing for 6 weeks turned into being off of work for 2.5 months. So during that time, I was actually on disability and I was home. And there were some parts that were really good about being home. I'm home every day when my daughter gets there. I'm making meals. I have free time to spend with my friends. I saw every television show that there was. I had lots of time to commit to my therapy, but eventually I did go back to work. And I was not 100%, but there was a point where I said, you know what? I got to go back. Like now I'm going stir crazy. I have cooked everything in every cookbook. I have watched every show. There is nothing left for me to sit at home and do. And, just sitting at home and being considered disabled, but not feeling disabled was kind of a blow and really kind of depressing for periods of time when you're not at your best, but you want to be. And it kind of came unexpectedly. So I did return to work. Was still working in that practice. And over time, I was starting to realize that the surgery wasn't as successful and I was missing out on time with my daughter. So I transitioned out of clinical practice and into full-time insurance. So I transitioned to a large health insurance company where I could work from home and I could work full-time. A big part of that decision, in addition to my orthopedic issues, was that I wanted to be home for my daughter. She was going to be starting high school, and through my career, much of my time I was available to other people's children and less available to my own child. She was in aftercare or she was with someone else while I was with other people's children and caring for them. And I knew that as she transitioned into high school, I didn't want her home alone every day for 4 years. She's a great kid, but home alone for 4 years leads to a lot of opportunities to get into a lot of things.
Yes.
So that combined with the orthopedic issues, I transitioned into utilization management. And I had that training ground prior to that.
So all of this worked out to your advantage. I mean, from being dismissed to disenchanted, disillusioned, and even being disabled, you built a series of skills over all aspects of your career that you were able to easily transition into the insurance industry. And a lot of docs look to make that transition at different points. And they think, oh, well, I need to have some sort of special experience. But that's not necessarily the case. And I've spoken with a lot of people that are just like you, Dr. Simpson, in that you kind of dibbled and tried the little part-time to see if you like it, see how it operates. You gain some skills. And then next thing you know, you're out of your clinical career and working for an insurance company, which offers you a much better quality of life. So I think that's just wonderful.
Yes. Yeah. And that's been great to have the flexibility to be able to pick my kid up from school and come back to work, to go to doctor's appointments, teacher's appointments, or just, I'm going to start a little later today because I traveled over the weekend and I'm going to sleep an extra hour. So that's been great. I do, though, find myself discouraged because the other side of medicine has its own challenges as well. I certainly miss being in the office, being with my patients, watching them grow up, getting those hugs, hearing that I'm this kid's favorite person, or Dr. Simpson, you're so pretty, or just feeling like I have that influence. I remember this kid wouldn't potty trained. And, I'm like, oh no, Dr. Simpson says you have to go to the potty. If you go on the potty, next time you come, I'm bringing you cookies. And the mom had to call the office ahead and say, can you please bring those cookies to see went on the potty? So I had all kinds of influence that I don't have in the insurance industry. But, it has its own rewards. But I find myself, being discouraged. I really went into this for the personal life balance, but also I felt like if I could help be a responsible steward for the insurance dollars that I'm charged with being accountable for, that would be some satisfaction in helping to make sure people are getting the care that they need, because I work on the Medicaid side of the insurance business. But what I find is I feel disconnected from the actual care of patients. And, medicine is more of a business, especially from that side, than it is the art and science. And so there are times where I look at medicine from both sides and just say, gosh, I wish it were different. The other thing that's discouraging, when they pay you a salary, you work as much as they need you to work. And there really is not that accounting for, okay, this is too much. So there are weeks that I work 50 or 60 hours a week. And that is not what I want, because a big part of being in this job and being home was to be there for my daughter. And so if I work into the evenings or I work from home, but leave my office, I go back late. And so then I'm up late. And so that balance has gotten thrown off. And so I'm sort of rediscovering that. And that kind of leads to my next disc. But you look like you might have a question for me before I keep talking.
Well, one thing I will say is that you actually gave some great information to the listeners out there, because a lot of people think that transition from clinical medicine to the insurance side is just something that's easy. And hey, now I'm working 32 hours a week and can play golf and can go on vacation and all of these things I couldn't do when I was in the office. But that's not really the case. It's still an intense level of work. It's a different work. The hours can be long. So I'm glad you brought that out, because we don't always get that. So now tell me what, I think you've broken a record on the License to Live show today with the amount of disses that you've had, and they're all wonderful. But tell me about this last diss that you want to get out there.
This diss is actually a good diss. So this was a discovery.
The comeback.
So,
I love it. Discovery. Yeah.
I discovered that I don't have to be in medicine to help people. And there are other ways to use my background and to leverage that into a business and a lifestyle for myself that still can make me happy, and that I can make the income that I make as a physician. So I actually discovered being an entrepreneur. I was introduced to a health and wellness business by one of my med school classmates who we've been friends since way, way back in medical school. And she actually started this health and wellness business with a company called Arbonne as an adjunct to her practice. She is a family practice doc and owns her own practice, and really started using the nutrition products from this company to help her patients. So she sent me samples. I loved the products. I bought some thinking, okay, great, I'm supporting my friend. And then when I found out about the business, I was hooked, and I knew I had to do it. Because, as physicians, we are used to putting in that bit of work every day to build up to what it is we're trying to get to. So essentially, that's exactly what I'm doing with my health and wellness business. I put in some work every day from home, 15, 20 minutes some days, 30, 60 minutes other days. And I'm building a business that is going to allow me to transition out of medicine, but still be involved with health and wellness and with helping people to feel better. The products are amazing. The business is amazing. And I get messages all the time from people like, this nutrition program is so great. I feel fantastic. My joints don't hurt, or, I lost the weight that I've been trying to lose. My blood pressure is better. So I get to help people make those positive health changes. And I get sort of that nice feedback that we don't always get in medicine. And I get to earn a salary on my time and work part-time hours, but build towards some full-time salary. So for me, that's really been the best diss of them all.
I'd have to agree with you. I mean, hey, when you can discover something or be discovered or make a discovery, that is a great diss, especially if you learn something about yourself. And in this case, you learned about entrepreneurship, and you are going on to do something that you think could very well supplement your income working for other companies. You can work and build your own brand with your company. So that's wonderful. Yeah. Tell us more.
Currently, it's a supplement, but I am building it to be the replacement for my income. The great thing about health and wellness is this is a booming industry. And, our company, we're on the cutting edge. We're involved in health and wellness. All of our products are plant-based and vegan certified, which we've been for 39 years since the company started. And, vegan is such a big catchword. Non-GMO is a big catchword. We're all of those things and formulated on European standards, which are so much better than the US standards. Here we've got 14 banned chemicals and toxins. In Europe, they have 1,400. And then our company actually goes above and beyond and has another 600 chemicals and toxins that we don't put in our product. So we've got 2,000 ingredients on our never list. But we've got products that really and truly work. Every day, people say something to me about my skin or about my physical well-being. And truly, it goes back to this. So, it's a health and wellness company. It is internet-based. As brick and mortar stores close down, the internet enterprises are booming. So just like I'm very used to ordering from Amazon or Target, I can order from Arbonne. It shows right up at my door. I get great products that work, that are better for me. And I actually have turned an expense into an income. The great thing about it is these are skills that while I didn't have them before, it's very authentic to just be able to share something that I really love and really feel very passionate about. I have learned so much about myself. Although I'm an introvert, this gives me the opportunity to interact with people sort of on my terms. So I can spend some time out in the world or on Zoom calls or telephone calls or video conference or whatever. And then I can kind of retreat back into my cocoon. I've become way, way, way more comfortable speaking in public. Even something like this before, I would have completely dreaded it. Now I don't. There's been so much self-development as I've been working toward helping lead other people in building their businesses as well. It's been an absolutely amazing journey. And honestly, I wish I had known about this sooner, because I really get to help people be healthier with products, but I also get to help people meet their goals and their dreams with helping them build their businesses and teaching them how to do exactly what it is I do. And I could go on and on about this.
Final judgment. Licensed to live.
I'm sorry.
No, this is great, because what I want people to understand is that through a series of at least 7 disses, we have come to a full circle and a point where Dr. Simpson has found a new love of and a new passion for a new part of her career that may not be directly patient care, but you're still helping people. And at the end of the day, if you're trying to do something new, if you're trying to restart or refresh your career and you want to do something new, then it's okay to try and go for it, because even if you get discouraged along the way, it's going to work out. All you have to do is know that you have a set of skills, a set of talents that you've been given, and you can use them whether you're in a clinic or a hospital or a church or an accounting firm, or you name it. You can make your own way, and you'll be valuable and useful to anyone at any time. So, Dr. Simpson, where can people find more out about you?
Well, so my business website is www.kimesimpson.arbonne.com. And I am on Facebook. I am Kim Elise Simpson. That's Kimelise Simpson, Simpson.
Excellent. Look for her, connect with her on Facebook. Also go check out her business at kimesimpson.arbonne.com.
Correct.
And we have certainly enjoyed having you on the show today. Is there anything else that you'd like to say to our audience today?
Well, first, thank you, Dr. Jarrett, for having me. This has been really fun. And I think I would just reiterate what you said. I think, especially as physicians, we have this tunnel vision and we focus only on our medical career. So first, I would say, develop your passions or develop something that makes you happy outside of medicine. If you like to exercise, if you like to read, if you like to cook, because those are going to be the things that are going to save your sanity when the days get rough. And they may be avenues for you to branch out or to have, something on the side. And I would say we have so many more skills than we realize. I used to joke and say, I'm a doctor. If I read well, but other than that, I don't have any skills. Like, I'm good at reading and I'm good at asking questions and putting together information. Okay, those are actually great skills. My skill of sitting down and talking to people and interviewing people in the medical setting helps me in my business when I'm trying to help people build their businesses and figure out, what is it you really want? How do I help you? How do we get from here to there? That tenacity that you had to have to get to where you are, that ability to delay gratification and to keep putting in the work. So for your listeners, whether they're physicians or not, find your passion, find some fun, find some balance, and never sell yourself short.
There you go, folks. You heard it here. You heard it from Dr. Simpson. She's been through it, and she is here to tell you about it, and she's doing wonderful things. Thanks again, Kim, for being on the show today.
Thank you. I'll get to call you Jarrett at the very end.
Remember, fire starters, if you or anyone you know has been dissed, disengaged, dissatisfied, disgruntled, or disenfranchised like me, or perhaps you were dismissed, disenchanted, disillusioned, disabled, discouraged, disconnected, or you had a discovery, please invite them to come along this journey. Simply go to your favorite podcast distributor and subscribe to Licensed to Live. And while you're there, please rate this episode and give me honest feedback so I make sure I provide you with the most up-to-date information about career challenges and life changes. And don't forget to pre-qualify for the License to Live one-on-one coaching program by making a strategy session with me today at timewithdrjarrett.com. That's time with, spell out the word doctor, J-A, 2 R's, E, 1 T.com. See you next time.
No matter how disheartening the moment of accusation sounds, how deep the pain of immobilization stabs, or how bleak your future looks, no one can take away your license to live. Keep Dr. Jarrett's expertise handy and unlock your future. Go to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or another podcast player and subscribe right now to Licensed to Live. See you next time.